What is going on, everyone? My name's Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. And today, because it's the international break, we've got a little bit more time than normal in between game weeks. We're going to look at the best fixtures over the coming game weeks, so from game weeks 9 to 12, a nice 4 game week block to see who has the best fixtures and whether or not you should be bringing in players from those teams. Sometimes the teams have good fixtures, but the options for those teams aren't great. So we're going to go through that. If this is the kind of content you enjoy, make sure to give it a like. Always appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new around here, and let's jump into it. So we'll start off with Chelsea and talk about whether they're worth investing in. A lot of you, to be fair, have probably already got one or two Chelsea assets, probably in the likes of Mount and or Abraham. But maybe it should be time to think about getting a third in. They've got Newcastle at home, Burnley away, Watford away, and Palace at home, which is a pretty decent set of 4 fixtures. Arguably, Watford and Burnley could be green fixtures as well, but because they're away, I've put them down as orange. But still, a nice set of 4. Chelsea, in like kind of overall as a team, 18 goals already this season. That's only 2 behind Liverpool, who probably the second best attacking team in the league. So to be that close after a 4-0 loss to Man United in the opening game week is a pretty good return. Clean sheet wise, a little bit of a worry. Only had 1 so far. Kante's back in the side, or at least he was, and even though he's not playing like a typical defensive midfielder position necessarily, he's still going to win the ball back a lot for Chelsea. The problem is, international break, we have to wait for more news now, but he did go off, or I don't think he even started the game because of a muscle injury that he picked up. So that's going to be a bit of concern for Chelsea, and obviously Rudiger's been missing for a lot of the season as well, who's probably their number 1 centre-back. So that's a bit of a worry too. So once those two are properly back, fit, and in the team for a good run of games, we could see clean sheets, but outside of that, it is a bit of a worry. They've only kept 1 so far. In terms of underlying stats, they're 3rd for shots in the box for the whole season, 2nd actually for the last 4 game weeks. So they've actually stepped it up a bit in the last 4 game weeks, so looking decent. And obviously they know how to score goals and their value. I think we always knew at some point this season they would be value, given their low prices, which we don't really expect with Chelsea players. And it shows that they have been. They have been good value and they will be going forward. So looking at the options, you've got Tomori in defence. Now obviously clean sheets are a worry like I've talked about. If you think that they can improve that, if you think that Rudiger and Kante will be fit soon enough, then probably worth investing. He's definitely underpriced. Most of the Chelsea defenders are priced 5.5 million or more, and he comes in even now at 4.7. So he was 4.5, obviously gone up a little bit, and they did get that clean sheet recently. So it looks like he's probably second choice centre back behind Rudiger when everyone's fit, which is pretty good for him. He's kind of come up the ranks pretty quickly this year under Lampard. So they play Watford and Newcastle. I think they're worst for goals scored so far this season. Palace aren't much higher either, so I think there's a good chance of clean sheets over this 4. Obviously Kante would be a big miss, but if he can be back and fit for Chelsea, then definitely some clean sheet potential there. Looking more in attack now, I've not put Hudson-Odoi here because basically I only ever put 3 players on these videos. But Hudson-Odoi is a bit cheaper than Mount, so worth looking at. He only comes in at 5.9. You'd expect him to start most games, but Mount has been so consistent this season that he's probably my favourite right now, even at 6.8 million. So 2 assists in just over 106 minutes for Hudson-Odoi, so do keep an eye on that. But Mount at 6.8 million, he's had 5 attacking returns in 8 games, so he's been super consistent, like I said. Doesn't really look like getting up, has set pieces as well. And the good thing about Hudson-Odoi for Mount is he's going to take up one of those wing spots, which means Mount is more likely to play in his number 10 role, which should see him perform better potential for assists, maybe out to the wings or to Abraham up front. And also running through in goals, just like Lampard used to do. And obviously, it's a pretty good mental to have. So Mount looks really good, but consider Hudson-Odoi for a little bit cheaper. And up front, I think Abraham's almost one of the number 1 strikers at the moment to own. It's got that number 9 position locked in. That's what we were worried about at the start of the season, not knowing which Chelsea striker would have it. Abraham definitely has it. 8 goals in 8 games. What more do you want? Underlying stats are backing up too. So just looking here, 2nd for shots in the box over the last 4. He's ahead of expected goals. He's ahead of Aguero for expected goals over the last 4 as well, which is pretty impressive. Cheap strikers are really doing the business right now. And it's kind of him, Wilson, Pukki. I think he's definitely up there as maybe the number 1, if not the number 2 behind Wilson. So definitely a good shout. I really like Chelsea assets. Let me know if you're going to be tripling them up in the comments below. Arsenal up next, who I think are a team that a lot of us want to invest in. We're just maybe waiting for the right moment for it to happen. So the next 4 fixtures are pretty good. Sheffield United away, Palace at home, Wolves at home, and Leicester away. They're not bad. I think Sheffield United have shown to be pretty defensive, so that might be a tricky one for goals. But we'll see what happens there. I think they're 3rd in the table, which is obviously good, really good for them. But are they worth the investment? 13 goals scored so far is the same as Bournemouth and Villa, and only 1 more than Wolves. And I think if you think about how Wolves have been this year, you'd probably say they've not been that great, and yet they're only 1 goal behind Arsenal. So Arsenal haven't been massively clinical. Defensively, not really seen as a team we'd expect too many clean sheets from, but they have had 2 this season. The top teams have only had 3. Like 3 is the most so far out of the first 8 games. So no one's really been doing that well. on the clean sheet front. So could Arsenal get some going forward? Maybe. In terms of shots in the box, 66 so far. So that's on a par with Brighton, Norwich, West Ham and Burnley. So they're not getting a huge amount away. But it is worth noting, when they've got someone like Aubameyang up front, he is pretty clinical, doesn't necessarily need lots and lots of shots, a bit like Jamie Vardy. When he does get his chances, he will take them. So looking at the players, Tierney, I will say it's probably a little bit early to put him in. He's not had any Premier League minutes so far. If you wanted someone a bit more, potentially safer, who has played the last few games, you've got Callum Chambers. But I guess as always with Emery, there's always a worry over rotation. But Chambers looks okay and obviously is a bit cheaper as well. But Tierney is someone that I'm kind of excited to see play more minutes in the league. We know he's quite attacking, already had an assist in the Europa League. We've seen him get quite a few assists for Celtic last year as well. When Arsenal have got all their defenders fit and available, if we see a little bit less rotation, they can kind of gel together and start putting some clean sheets and good defensive performances together, then Tierney could be one to look out for. And even if you don't get him right now, obviously you probably do want to wait until he's started a few games in the league, to be fair. If you've got someone like Otamendi, he's a good price to swap to because they're very similar prices. So that kind of structure will let you get Tierney in if and when you want to, basically. Looking at midfield, I think Pepe is an exciting talent. Hasn't necessarily shown it so far. I think it's good that Emery's given him quite a few minutes. It's quite encouraging. And he is getting starts most weeks, but hasn't really shown us the attacking threat just yet. And maybe needs to, I don't know, calm down in front of goal and maybe just get his first goal that's not a penalty in the league, and maybe he'll take off from there. But right now, there's probably just not enough options in midfield to talk about for Arsenal. He's had 6 shots in the box in the last 4 and 6 chances created, which is okay, but you're paying quite a lot of money for him. 9.3 million, you know, it's close to De Bruyne, close-ish, close to the likes of Son, although he's not performing right now. And there's probably a bunch of midfielders you could get that are cheaper, that are performing just as good, if not better. So maybe one for the future. But if you want to take a punt over these 4 fixtures in midfield, Pepe could be your man. Then Aubameyang, we know how good he is. 7 goals, 1 assist, great start to the season. Attack and return every game on average so far. Doesn't look like letting up. 9 shots in the box, not spectacular, but he is clinical. Like I said, Vardy, he doesn't need too many chances. Price point's probably the biggest issue with Aubameyang. You know, if you've got him in, you've probably not got like a Liverpool attack. You've probably not got Mane or Salah, or you've not got Sterling. And although Sterling's not been doing great recently, a lot of people are going to want to keep him in, so it's harder to get Aubameyang. So, is it time to drop Sterling, De Bruyne, Salah, Mane? I mean, Liverpool's fixtures aren't great on paper, but given how Man United have been playing, given how Spurs have been playing, I don't necessarily want to drop one right now. So I think Aubameyang is a great option at 11 million, potentially captain option as well over these next 4, where Liverpool don't have the greatest fixtures. And even Man City have got okay fixtures, but you don't want to captain them every week going forward necessarily. So Aubameyang could be a different differential for captaincy, but maybe a little bit too hard to fit in for a lot of people. So Wolves again, obviously in this video, a nice run of fixtures. Southampton at home, Newcastle away, Arsenal away and Villa at home. So a pretty decent 4. And Wolves are kind of the forgotten team from last season. A lot of us had their players, Doherty, Jota and Jimenez. And quite a few people maybe started with Jota this year, but they've probably gotten rid of him at this point. And Doherty just quite expensive, and Jimenez obviously more expensive than Jota, so not a lot of people started with him, at least in the FPL kind of Twitter and YouTube communities and stuff like that. But now might be the time to jump back on them. Nice run of fixtures. They've just beaten Man City as well, which is obviously going to be a huge confidence boost. And we know their players have the pedigree to get FPL points. We saw it last year, so it's just a case of is now the time to get on. And underlying stats not great. For the whole season, they're 3rd worst for attempts in the box. And looking defensively for the last 4 games, they're 5th for shots in the box conceded. So not great, but maybe the fixtures they've got now will help them turn that around. So looking at the players you could go for, Bolly, 5 million, nice price. I think Southampton and Villa at home are good fixtures for clean sheets, and potentially even Newcastle away as well, because Newcastle haven't been scoring a boatload of goals themselves. He's obviously nailed and a cheap way into their defence. Doherty, 6 million, you might not want to pay that, but Bolly, you can get him in, absolutely nailed, 5 million. Does have a bit of goal threat as well. No goals so far this season in the league. I think we saw him score 1 in Europe already. He did get 4 last year for Wolves, which is a pretty good return. So if you can up that a bit going in the next couple of games, and get his goal here or there, and plus a couple of clean sheets, could be a nice price for 5 million. There's not a huge amount of players probably in that 5 million bracket either. A lot are probably over 5.5 million, the likes of Otamendi, etc., or in the 4.5 million bracket. So around the 5 million, he might be one of the better options. Traore, 5 million midfielder, just scored 2 against Man City. Obviously now suddenly a bit of a bandwagon, a bit of a knee jerk. Probably the best midfield option while he's getting consistent starts in the team. But there isn't too many options in that Wolves midfield, I would say, and maybe it is a bit of a knee-jerk after the Man City game. He is a player who, rightly or wrongly, I always consider someone with a lot of pace and not much end product, but maybe he's kind of reading that in now, and he's got a bit of end product as well. So worth a look at. And if he's going to be in the team, he's going to keep his place, then he's going to cause defences problems, and that can always lead to assists and goals going forward. But underlying stats, he only had 2 shots in the box in the last 2 game weeks and got 2 goals. So that's not going to continue. He'd need to up the amount of shots he's having to continue getting goals. So we'll see if he can keep doing that going forward. Only 5 million, so not much of a risk, but probably a little bit too expensive for your 8th attacker if you want to keep it cheap there. Then Jimenez may be the one to look at. 7.1 million, the same price as Pukki now. 16 shots in the box for the season is similar to Mane. 2 goals and 2 assists. So he's had an attacking return every other game. Maybe not great for 7.1 million. Obviously not maybe what we've come accustomed to after how we did last year, but it's not bad considering he's a player we've not really had in our thoughts at all. So if we think he can keep up the amount of shots and stuff with those fixtures that he's got going forward, could be a good option. I think if you're a player or an FPL manager that likes to get on early, now would be the time to get on Jimenez. Southampton at home is a decent fixture off the back of a good win against Man City. But perhaps if you're not, you want to wait and see how Wolves perform going forward. You could wait until after the Arsenal game and then jump on. But I think Wolves looking good at the moment and got some good options. I think Bolly and Jimenez are probably the ones that stand out. But Traore might be a bit of a punt for 5 million and not too much risk at that price. Last up we have Leicester, again, couple of home fixtures either side of 2 away ones. So Burnley at home, Southampton away, Palace away and Arsenal at home. Really good season so far, obviously a lot of people tipping them for top 4. Not so sure about that, maybe that will happen, maybe it won't, but they've definitely got some good FPL assets to be looking at. Defensively solid, they're not really conceding a huge amount of chances. In terms of shots for the whole season, they're last for shots in the box for the whole season. They're 3rd in the last 4. They're only ahead of Man United and Newcastle, who have been really poor. So in terms of the amount of shots they're having, it's not been great for Leicester. Again, a bit like Aubameyang, I've already kind of mentioned Jamie Vardy. When he gets his chances, he does take them. Doesn't necessarily need to have a massive amount of shots. But it would be nice if Leicester could create some more chances and get those shots in and around the box. But even saying all that, they are still 4th for goals scored. So it's not really a problem for them. And maybe this is one where you should just ignore those kind of stats. Looking at the players to look at, Pereira, top scoring defender so far, equal with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Definitely someone to look at with the upcoming fixtures for a defensively sound team. But he's only had 3 goal attempts so far and 2 goals. So that's been a little bit lucky to get those attacking returns. And only 2 chances created in the last 4, which really isn't that impressive. There's lots of defenders ahead of him for chances created. So I'm not even sure, as much as he does look attacking when you watch him, the stats aren't really backing that up. And when you can get Soyuncu for 1.5 million less, and he obviously covers the same clean sheets, not maybe got any attacking return or attacking potential himself, Soyuncu, especially not compared to the likes of Pereira or maybe other defenders, but 1.5 million is a lot of money. So I think a lot of people are siding with him. If you've got a bit of cash to burn, then maybe Pereira is your man, but 6.2 million is quite a lot. Can he keep those attacking returns going forward? Maybe, we'll have to wait and see. Maddison, 2 goals, 2 assists so far this season. Pretty nice return. One of the most popular midfielders at the moment, or at least one that's being talked about quite a lot. Known for being creative, but only 4 chances created in the last 4 matches, so only 1 a game. So McGinn, Zaha, Anderson and Gross are all being more creative than him. 6 shots inside the box, though, is pretty decent for his price range. I checked other players around that price, and not many are beating him. So maybe he's going to have more goals this season than assists, but when he's on set pieces, those are always going to come as well. So I think fixtures are good there. Vardy is someone I like. Like I said, doesn't necessarily need a huge amount of chances to get his goals. He is on penalties as well, absolutely nailed. So a pretty good price at 9 million. It's whether or not he's better than the likes of Abraham and Wilson, who are a bit cheaper. So it really depends what kind of cash you've got to spend. If you're playing like a 3-4-3, maybe he could be one of your attackers. If you're playing 3-5-2, it's maybe a little bit trickier. Maybe you go for Wilson and Abraham and not Jamie Vardy. So I think Jamie Vardy is one of those players that's great, but it's just the circumstances of FPL. If cheaper forwards are doing just as well, then people, flock to them and then spend that money in midfield. So I think Jamie Vardy is a really good option. I think he's been so consistent over all the season since he kind of started in the Premier League for Leicester. He's going to do that again this season. He's going to get goals in these upcoming 4 fixtures. And he's pretty good for bonus as well when he does get those goals. And obviously penalties really do help. And a team that's going to win them as well. So I like Vardy. I just don't know if he's a better option than Wilson and Abraham right now. So it's whether or not you've got the money to fit him in. But Maddison I like, 7.2 million. Very close between him and Mount. Pereira is probably a good option, but I just don't know if he's a good option when you compare him to Soyuncu. But Leicester I really like. Already got Soyuncu in myself and definitely going to try and fit in a Leicester asset as and when I can. So that is it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give the video a like. It's much appreciated as always. And if you're new, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified when all the future videos go live and when I'm live streaming, which will be sometime this week, probably Thursday, maybe one before that. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, international breaks, have done a couple of different videos over the last week. Next week, we'll be back to the normal content, previews, team selections, and obviously the streams that I talked about as well. So loads of content coming on the channel. Make sure you subscribe. If you've got any thoughts on what I've said, any players that I've mentioned or haven't mentioned who've got good fixtures coming up, make sure to leave a comment below. I'll try to get back to as many as I can. Otherwise, I will leave it there. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers all.